Dear 9, you said there would be 3 days of darkness on this planet, but that did not happen. Can you explain why? We, the white-winged collective consciousness of 9, gave to our conduit, Magenta Pixie, information through energy which she interprets. The interpretation is in emotional, visual, and auditory form. Also, due to timings and protocols, shall we say, full explanations of predicted events cannot be given. That is not because we withhold information, or that our conduit cannot interpret that information. It is to do with timing and manifestation of timelines, as in predicted events from your perspective at that time not having happened yet within your linear perception. Regarding the 3 days of darkness information specifically, if one thinks third dimensionally, one is unlikely to be able to grasp the full understanding of this. Multidimensional expansion, multidimensional thinking is required for the processing of this information. Suffice it to say, from a third dimensional point of view, 3 days of darkness, as in 3 consecutive Earth days on your planet where there is no light, as in sunlight, no, this did not happen on your planet in the year of 2012. However, this was not ever going to happen in your year of 2012. If we say to you within the third dimension that the 3 days of darkness did happen and is happening now, we would be speaking truth. We would be expressing reality truthfully. Specific to December the 21st, 2012, the 3 days of darkness did occur when looking at past events. We now communicate to those of multidimensional awareness, expansion, fifth dimensional thinking regarding this event so that you may process this information. Darkness, perceived as the shadow aspect, would always be part of the ascension process or any process into enlightenment. Your own shadow aspect showing itself. This would occur for all who take a conscious path of awakening and expansion. 3 days, as in 3 sections of time, forming a triangular geometry, aspects of the 1 into duality, the 2, into the creation, creating the 3. The triangular geometry, 3 sections of time, 3 sections of awareness of shadow aspect self, running parallel to the awareness of self within the light-love vibration. This shadow aspect of self, being part of the ascension process, is a reflection or a mirror of a physical movement, a physical event, a universal event, a cosmic event. The actual 3 days of darkness was given to our conduit. Her interpretation was at the level it needed to be at prior to the 21st of December 2012 culmination point. Darkness, in its most accurate interpreted form, is indeed exactly that, physical darkness. But this is not absence of sunlight upon your physical earth. This is an entering into a 0-point field, en masse, as a planet, indeed as a universe. When one exists within an expansive universe, there is light within that universe, particles of light. These particles illuminate. They are indeed living, intelligent particles. One could call them light-love particles. This would be an appropriate label. They move in a certain way, having a positive, negative and neutral charge, moving or facing in a particular pattern, creating a forward-moving motion and illuminating with light. When one exists within an inversive universe, there is also light within that universe. The same particles of light we mentioned, although one would more appropriately label these particles as love-light particles rather than light-love, for they are arranged within the opposite pattern. The positive, negative and neutral charge is still there, but arranged differently, creating a backwards moving motion, if you will, although it is perhaps more correct to say creating an inwards moving motion. These particles still illuminate with light. Our conduit does not have the scientific information, particularly within the field of physics, to present our energy information in the most aligned way it could be presented. There are reasons for this. Suffice it to say that those with knowing in this area will be able to interpret what we present. There are those on your planet who do present this information. So, back to the 3 days of darkness. In your year of 2012, specifically around the time of the 21st of December, the solstice, your universe moved from an expansive motion into an inversive motion or contractive motion. Yet for this swap to take place, there has to be a point where the expansive motion stops, if you will, and turns itself around or turns itself inside out or upside down. We speak much in metaphor here, as there is no actual stopping and turning. What your actual universe did, or is doing, depending on perspective, was move into a point and move out from that point. There was a crossover from one dimension to another. For ease of explanation, we use the model of stopping and turning around, or turning inside out or upside down. For we are explaining motion and non-motion in order to explain illuminating particles and absence of illuminating particles, hence the darkness. At the point of the solstice, the universe stopped expanding, if you will. We speak here of dimensional expansion. For 3 days, again a metaphor, and there is a reason for this metaphor, we could better say 3 sections of time. We refer here again to the triangular geometry. 1. Unity. 2. Duality. 3. Creation. For those 3 sections of time, within those 3 sections of time, there were no illuminating particles, for your universe was in stillness. If you wish to visualize the universe breathing in and breathing out as its movement, then this was the point where the universe held its breath, if you will. So at this point, there was no illumination, and you, your universe, your planet and you, were all in the 0 point field. Your universe was aligned with the galactic core, the central sun. Many sensitive individuals felt this point of stillness, this 0 point. For all that occurs within your outer universe also occurs within your inner universe. The memory cells of your DNA were doing the same thing, moving into stillness before turning the positive, negative, neutral charge patterns the other way. After the 3 sections of time, the triangular geometry, the universe breathed again. The universe at that point began moving in an inversive motion or contractive motion, with particles now of love-light rather than light-love, with the positive, negative and neutral charge patterns the other way in arrangement. Now here is where fifth dimensional thinking is needed in order to process and comprehend. Time itself has changed direction, shall we say. This is intertwined with your consciousness as a collective humanity. It is your awareness that has brought you to this point. It is this universal DNA action that has brought you to this awareness. It is simultaneous, joined, unified. You, humanity, the individual human, you are directly connected to this universal motion. The three sections of time, the triangular geometry, the stillness point, 0 point field, is not in the past. It is available now, for it is an out-of-time event. There is no time within 0 point. There is no number within 0. You can return to 0 at any point you so choose. This event has been explained as a pole shift, a polarity shift, a planetary axis shift, and more. 3 days of darkness is the same event as the polarity shift, explained in a different way. Yet there is another reason why 3 days of darkness has been specifically foretold and predicted in such a way. The 3 days of darkness has always been known by you. 3 days of darkness is an alphabetical numeral within the language of light. You intrinsically know what to do and how to prepare when you hear the words 3 days of darkness. When you hear information such as prepare, 3 days of darkness is coming. The third dimensional interface, the human brain, will immediately begin to interpret this. This will look like, on a third dimensional linear translation, no sun on your planet, no warmth, no survival. Therefore fear sets in, one must hide, one must stock up on food and water, one must travel the earth to find a safe place. Fifth dimensional thinking individuals, of which all humanity are capable of, for all of you are multidimensional beings and embrace simultaneously all dimensions. Fifth dimensional thinking individuals will bypass the third dimensional interface, the brain's interpretation. They will bring feeling, emotion, heart, intuition into the equation. For each of them, the interpretation will be somewhat different, for you are each so very unique. Yet what is collectively the same is the activation this particular sentence, particular alphabetical numeral creates. 3 days of darkness within. This is familiar. Nibiru is coming within. This is familiar. There will be a polarity shift within. This is familiar. These are triggers to your awakening. Get prepared. You instinctively know how to prepare. Not for no sunlight, no warmth, no survival, the end of the world, end of days, but for the shift, the change, the new dimension, the new earth, the new golden age, the ascension. Metaphoric alphabetical numeral activations in words, sentences, prose, story, symbol, artistic arrangement, movement and sound are interpreted differently by each one of you. There is a mirroring of these dimensional and cosmic events within you, and thus within your reality, the reality you experience. Get prepared is directly connected to your interpretations and how you personally mirror these dimensional and cosmic events within you and the reality you experience. Why, you may ask, was this not presented this way, to be interpreted this way, to our conduit prior to the 21st of December 2012? Well, certain aspects of this energetic was presented to our conduit within the context of prior to the 21st of December 2012 culmination point, and this was interpreted. The context was a different viewpoint, shall we say, almost as if one window downstairs in the house was being looked through, and now another window on the second floor of the house is being looked through. However, the information and the interpretation was there. But information and interpretations influence outcomes. We repeat, information and interpretations influence outcomes. And at that point, the outcomes needed to be influenced in the most expansive way possible. Added to that, our conduit is in a state of growth regarding her own use of vocabulary and her own interpretation. Therefore, our information will naturally be interpreted slightly differently as she grows and expands, as is the case with all conduits of light upon an ascension path. Yet ultimately, the reason this information is given now is to do with protocols and divine timing. What, indeed, are protocols and divine timing, you may ask? Well, that is a whole other transmission. We are the white-winged collective consciousness of 9.